Good evening. I'm Sharon Lapp, and welcome to Window on Fort Wayne. Our program this week will be on Northside Park and different activities in the Fort Wayne Park. My guests this evening are Phil Bennett, who is the Superintendent of Recreation. I almost got that wrong again. Joe Foy, who's the President of Northside. Hello, Joe. And Jerry Bayenski, who is the one of two park planners. Who's the other park planner?
Angie Deerheimer, my partner in planning.
Oh, partner in crime. Okay. Joe, I'd like to go to you first and ask you, how long have you been president of Northside?
This is my second term, which is 2 years.
Uh-huh.
And previous to that, we've had many other presidents, Joe Phillips, and the Larrys, Doug and Marshall Larry, and others.
Okay, and how old is your association?
The association is 1975. We started by obstacle with the Northeast Regional Correction Center. We fought that, and after successfully fighting the placing that facility on the old state school grounds, we decided to do something with the property, and that was the beginning of the neighborhood association and also the idea of the park.
You know, it seems like all neighborhood associations, one way or another, become, you know, together for some controversy or other. How many members do you have, and what's your potential?
We're pushing 600 members right now, and our potential is we have about 3,000 families in the area.
Well, that's a pretty good percentage.
It's not too bad a percentage. We're looking for more. So anyone out there?
We were going to get to that, Joe. Do you have any other area businesses that are involved in your association? Are they members, or do they have their own association, or
The
how does
state,
that work?
Sharon, the state street merchants have their own association, their own, I wouldn't call it an association group, but they also belong to our association. And they're terrific. They're terrific people. They have helped us many, many times, and we have something to pass out. They're always there to help us out, and we, of course, try to have a reciprocal type of agreement with them.
Oh, that's good. I know at one time someone had mentioned that, you know, businesses and neighborhoods wouldn't have the same concept of what is good and what isn't. You know,
I say
good for a
State Street, but I should mention there's other businesses too in the area besides just the State Street one.
Right.
It's on
What
Parnell
are your
and-
boundaries, Joe?
The boundaries are quite extensive. We would actually make it short. We'd go from the Maumee River and Anthony Boulevard, follow the river around to the St. Joe River, follow the St. Joe River back to the Anthony Boulevard.
Oh my gosh.
It's quite an area, yes.
Yeah, that is. What activities do you do during the year for your members?
Well, we used to have meetings quarterly, and now we have meetings once a month. And we have a board meeting. We also have a general meeting for the members. The general meetings usually have a person of experience, a topic, the speaker of a certain topic. Next month, this month, the third Monday of this month, we're having one on neighborhood watch and crime. And we'll have some speakers for that, I'm sure. The last month we had those from the Citizens Action Coalition and also one from NIPSCO on the subject of gas prices.
I'll bet that was interesting.
It was quite a session. And we try to get both sides to each subject. It's,
Okay, a couple of other things. If someone wants to be a member and they live in your area, who would they contact?
well, we have 13 board members right now, and I can name some of them off if you like, but they could contact myself or any of the other board members.
All right, fine. Oh, by the way, how much are your dues?
The dues are $5 a year and $2 for senior citizens,
Oh, that's great.
which I am one.
You're a senior? I didn't know that, Joe. Let's talk a little bit about Northside Park. And I'm not sure, well, maybe Jerry, I can ask you, who decided that the old state school would make a good neighborhood park?
Well, it's just a natural outgrowth from the vacation of the property by the state hospital. I think, if my memory serves me right, a previous superintendent of parks, Martin Nading, really initiated contacts with some communications regarding the possible use of the property as a park, and this was probably nearly 20 years ago. We began working directly with the neighborhood in 1975 to begin the planning process.
That far back?
Yes.
I didn't realize that. Okay. And Joe, you were probably, that means they helped plan the park. I mean, they helped set it down, what it is like now.
We firmly believe in not planning in a vacuum. This park was to be used by the residents of the neighborhood, and therefore they should have a great deal to say about what that neighborhood park was going to be like. So we sat down and felt that our job then was really to translate into a plan their ideas. And the people that we dealt with, of course, were predecessors of Joe's
Right.
at that time.
Okay. Who designed the park? I've looked at it and I'm impressed. I really.
The neighborhood designed the park.
The neighborhood.
The neighborhood
drew it
designed
out?
the park. As I said before, our job was merely to translate these various ideas into a workable plan. So in effect, really, they did design it, and we put it on paper for them and made it work.
That's really fantastic. I'd like to really take a look at and show the people. We don't have any video film of the park, but you do have your a map of Northside, and I think if we take a look at it, you can explain some of the different things that we've got on it.
Okay. Now, if we can switch over to the
Okay.
map, we have a graphic that we've brought along with us tonight to show you how dynamic the design process is. This particular rendering was done last fall, and we've already had some minor changes in the plan, things that we've done as we've gone out in the field and decided things should be shifted somewhat. Just to orient the viewers, the top of your screen is north. The bottom of the screen is State Boulevard. On the west is Parnell. On the north is Charlotte, and on the east is Kentucky. The mental health center occupies about 1/4 of the property, or about 14 acres, and that's the lower right-hand.
In orange, right?
Right. The orange blocks in the lower right-hand corner of your picture are the mental health center buildings, and the gray areas surrounding that are all of the asphalted areas, the old roadways, the roads that are presently used by the mental health center, and their parking lots. All of the remainder of the property, which is about 38 acres, was available for us to play with, and that's exactly what we did along with the neighborhood. When we took the property on, of course, we had an awful lot of facilities on the property that were not desirable for park use, and that would be all of the steam tunnels that connected all the old buildings and foundations, the power plant, the administration building, the hospital, and the old laundry building. We had to kind of grit our teeth and look at these buildings and decide whether they had any true value any longer, and decide whether to keep them, if so, or to demolish them if they didn't have any value. And obviously, if you go over there today, you can see what decision we made.
Right, you've got rid of the terribly ugly
Yes, we
thing
did. Of course,
that,
there was another camp involved in that, people who felt that those buildings should be saved.
Really?
And I'm sure that there was some merit in that idea. However, if they had an opportunity to go through those buildings, I think they may have changed their minds. I do have a series of slides, and unfortunately we weren't able to show them tonight because of some mechanical problems with your machinery, but they're very descriptive of the
Yes,
condition
I've
of
seen them
the
in
buildings.
a lot
So
of deterioration.
the entire site was laced with a network of tunnels that were used to transport the utilities from one building to another. As I said, they had a power plant on the property that manufactured steam and so forth, and the steam heated the buildings throughout the entire property. So we had a real big problem on our hands in demolishing and eradicating those features from the property. But that's been done now, and you can see, I think, the benefits of that choice that we made.
Yeah, I think
So the plan, as you see it on your screen, is really descriptive of what you're going to see when you go out to the park and hopefully show up at noon on this coming Saturday.
And that's when the dedication
That's
is noon
dedication day.
this Saturday.
It also coincides with a Life Unit Day, which is a celebration by the National Parks and Recreation Association. We're going to be releasing 1,000 balloons and having all sorts of programs that perhaps Phil can fill us in on later. In any event, maybe we can describe some of the features that we've got in the park.
All right, if we start on State Street and we walk around, let's, why don't we go through what, you have a memorial, and tell a little bit about the memorial and why you kept it, and basically.
Okay, the memorial, we're very sensitive, and at least me particularly. I grew up 2 blocks away from the park, and I have a pretty clear understanding of the history of the site and how it was used, and the people that that went through the buildings, the people that lived there. And we felt that it was very important that we in some way recognize those individuals that spent their lives on this property. So what we did is we salvaged one of the support pillars from the main entrance to the administration building and relocated it down in an area that is in the foreground of the property, or I hope your viewers can see it clearly. It does say memorial and picnic area in the lower center portion of your picture. We've moved it up front in the park along State Street so that it's visible. We put a brick veneer behind it to finish it off, and a dedication plaque is to be mounted on the back side of that, and hopefully that'll be in place by Saturday. We're hopeful that it will be. As you would move across the screen to the left then, you see a red L-shaped structure, and that is the park administration building.
Okay.
We also share that structure with offices from the mental health center. They were having some growing pains, and we were able to accommodate their growth in this building. The parking lot that you see just to the lower right-hand corner of that red building, the administration building, is for use by park patrons who have business in the administrative offices, rental of pavilions, business with park staff. The parking area on the west side of the building is for use by people who are visiting the mental health center offices and mental health center staff. Moving then north along Parnell, we have a larger parking area, which is general parking for visitors to the park. And then we come to the main park drive, which comes off of Parnell Avenue, and this is the main entrance into the park. We would encourage people who are driving to the park to use this entrance.
You mean Saturday or at any time?
Saturday and any time thereafter. We have provided what we call a core parking area, and that is located due east of that entry into the park off of Parnell, and it's also just west then of the new pool. We're hopeful that people will be sensitive to the fact that the mental health center is our neighbors, and that the parking facilities, while they appear to be generous on the mental health center property, is for mental health center patrons and staff. And we hope to be able to separate the parking problems.
Will you put signs up to state?
We hope to, yes. The entrance to the mental health center is off of State Street, and it's pretty obvious that that is the mental health center and not the park.
Doesn't always mean a lot, though.
No,
when
but we've had a real good relationship with the mental health center staff. We have a couple areas penetrated through their property line to develop some things and to mow and to improve, and we've done it with their blessing. And we hope to be real good neighbors and maintain that kind of a relationship.
That's good.
Moving back to the drawing, in the center of the drawing you see the blue L-shaped design. That is our new pool.
Oh, I was out there today, and that really looked inviting, especially walking around.
It is. It's very nice.
Beautiful.
They began to fill it, I believe it was day before yesterday, and it took 18 hours to fill it up. And it is being filtered and treated at the present time, and it'll be ready for that first splash at noon on Saturday. By the way, and that's a free swim on Saturday for anybody showing up at the park. The red shaped structure just north of that blue area, which is the pool itself, is the bathhouse and the filter room. The little red square that sits off by itself is the filter room, which is accessible obviously from the pool side, and from the other side it's accessible as a restroom for public use. Then just north of that we have our new basketball court development. Moving across then back.
Is that in there yet?
That's in. It's going in at the present time. In fact, today they asphalted, and hopefully tomorrow they'll have set the goals. I don't know that we'll have the backboards.
I was going to say, I was back there, and I don't remember seeing it, and I thought maybe I missed it.
What we're doing at the present time on the park, most of the things that you see on this plan are totally completed, but there are some things that are in the process of being completed. We may not have them all done by Saturday. We hope to have the majority of things done. It's a little like cleaning house just before a company arrives. We're polishing the furniture, so to speak. Asphalting of that center core parking lot was taking place today, and of course that may be a 3-day ordeal, which means that we wouldn't really be done Saturday. We'd have to finish it up Monday, but still it should be usable for parking on Saturday. In the area then just north of that core parking lot, you see a note that says play structure. It isn't clearly shown there where that sits. Actually, it sits just a little north of where that says play structure. And what that is the current state-of-the-art in playground design is towards development of play structures. In the past, turn-of-the-century type play equipment was a swing set here, a teeter-totter over there, a merry-go-round here. The current trend is towards psychological and physical development of children in the process of play, and these play structures deal directly with that. We have 2 play structures in the park. One is located where I've just mentioned, and the other is farther over towards the east near that open area, which we've identified also as a picnicking area. So we would invite your listeners to bring your children out and enjoy our new play structures.
They are very nice, and
Yes,
they
they
look
are.
rustic. They're,
They are.
like you said, a different design, and the slide is, I don't know, what kind of a slide do you call it? It kind of comes down, and then it curves around, and then goes back down
It's called
again.
a spiral slide.
Spiral, thank
Spiral
you. Well, I
slide.
should have been able to figure that out.
It's very popular. We have children standing in line to go down that slide. They play a game on there, hot lava, I think they call it,
Hot
where they attempt to go from one end of that play structure to the other without ever touching the ground. And whoever falls off or touches the ground is out of the game. So they really have a lot of fun on there.
Interesting game.
Moving west again from that play structure area in the center of the screen, you see another red square, and that is what we're calling the bank barn. It was actually called building number 14, which was a maintenance building for the state hospital when it was on the property. We don't have a current specified use for the building, but we felt that it had enough character and value that we wanted to safeguard it, and so we're banking our bank barn, so to speak. We've protected it. We've made some improvements to it to allow us to keep it for a period of time.
I think we talked the other day that you don't have a pavilion out there. Are there any plans on maybe using that or, something else?
There's a possibility that it could be used for that. But again, we don't have any firm plans developed for its use. But again, we felt it was had enough character and value
It's
to
sound
remain on the
structure,
site.
too. You can
Yeah.
tell that when you walk around it.
So then again, as you move towards the west, you encounter the 4 tennis courts. And that's kind of an interesting story. We have a very, very good relationship with the Fort Wayne Community School System. In fact, the tennis courts were the first recreational feature to be developed on the property. And they were built about 3 years ago and funded by the Fort Wayne Community School System. I should say, the Northside High School people were landlocked over there. They have no place to grow, and they needed an area where they could develop tennis courts for their tennis program. And here we sat and had a beautiful piece of property, and we're 2 blocks away from them. And if you think about the community school system and the community park system, it makes good sense.
Right.
So we joined with them in this venture, and we provided the land and they provided the facilities. We do have a sign on the fence above the entry into the tennis courts that indicates clearly that Northside High School tennis programs have priority use. However, when not being used for that purpose, they're open to the general public, and they're used very heavily.
I noticed there were, I think, about 2 or 3 couples there today. I can't remember which, doing it, playing tennis down there. I think that's very, very good. And there are 4 tennis courts.
4 tennis courts, color-coded and top quality. Very, very nice facilities.
Yeah, that very nice.
Moving then north, we cross across more open space. And I should point out that we have made every effort in this plan to provide open space. A lot of people felt that every square inch of this property should have some defined or specific purpose. And I think we were successful in not designing it in that way, allowing people to use open space in any way that they see fit. Kite flying, a frisbee, a pickup football game, pickup soccer. It's important. It's like an oasis in the middle of this urban desert that we have.
That's true.
And I think that on Saturday people will be quite pleased with what they see
I noticed that today when I walked out there, and this was when all the construction crews were out there, and there was noise, and I think it would probably have been closer to between Charlotte and, oh, that's Kentucky, up in the right-hand top corner. It was just, you know, you almost couldn't hear the traffic. It was that peaceful out there. And the old trees that are there,
Right.
it's
Well,
really lovely.
I live 2 blocks away from the park, ironically. Not that I have a vested interest in this, but I also enjoy the park in the evening, even though I work there all day. I was up there last night, and it's a real pleasure to me, very self-satisfying to see the way that the park is being used now. You know, we're not completely done yet; it's being used, obviously. And every night I see more and more and more people. And Phil and I were talking earlier; he also has noticed the same thing. It's very enjoyable to see it work that way.
You were talking about the soccer and the football.
Yeah,
field. I didn't mean to interrupt you. But
now we're in the northwest corner of the property, which is the upper left-hand corner. We've developed a first-class athletic field, which can be used for all sorts of field games, from soccer, rugby, and
It's
football.
regulation size, too.
Regulation size, yes. And that happens to be in the area where they used to store the coal for the power plant.
Oh, really?
So, you know, that's a unique reuse for that particular site. That area is becoming well-established with turf, and we probably won't actively program that field until the fall to allow the turf to toughen up and to thicken up.
You said you were going to let some of the schools use it if they, you know, have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like grade schools too, you let them use it also?
Well, I don't know that the grade schools would have a definite need for the
do?
property.
Okay, all right. I was just wondering because I know they do have a football program.
But again, that would be a scheduling
I see. Okay.
kind of a problem that certainly we could handle.
Okay.
We'd accommodate anybody that we can on the property. Moving then back towards the east or to the right of the screen, you would come up a very nice gentle hill and come to the new baseball field that we've developed. We have designed it to accommodate, again, Northside High School, so that it meets high school athletic standards and can also be used for, obviously, other purposes because of its top quality. Moving then, continuing on to the right, again crossing a nice large open space until you encounter a cluster of trees, a nice wooded space that's well canopied and covered with large mature trees that we're identifying as our picnic grounds. Not that we can't picnic anywhere else, but
Yeah.
it is a very nice place to be.
You also have a play set up there too.
Yes, we do. That is just in the lower left-hand corner of that cluster of trees. It's a smaller play structure than the other one, but very usable and very actively used at the present time. The picnic area, again, is heavily shaded, so on a nice hot July day, it'll be a nice place to go and enjoy a picnic. And it's very peaceful and quiet back on that side of the park. Coming then back down towards the bottom of the screen and moving back west again and coming to the core parking lot. As I mentioned earlier, the planning process in implementing a plan is kind of dynamic. I've shown what we've called our fit trail on this plan. I've shown a route that snakes through the property. However, in actuality, when we went out to lay it out, we changed that route. You know, as long as it's on paper and not in the field, we can change it, and that's what we did. The fit trail is a very popular feature in this park as well as in Foster Park, and there's also one out at Indiana Purdue campus. It is a series of stations that are located from 300 to 400 feet apart, and they provide a rather interesting way in which to get some exercise. And it is designed for 3 purposes. One is for stretching and flexibility. The second purpose is for muscle tone, and the third is for cardiovascular conditioning. When you come out to the park, if you want to take advantage of our fit trail, you can park in the core parking lot, and you can't miss the beginning or the start station. We have 3 large signs, and they're blue in color, and if you'll start from left and read to right, they're very descriptive, tell you where to go. There are arrows through the system, and when you come to each one of the stations, it gives you very clearly the instructions that you need to follow and the exercise that you will do. In some cases, there is no equipment for you to use. You merely do a standing exercise according to the plan, and in other
That's
cases,
good.
there is equipment for you to
Yeah.
use.
That's a
Again,
good
heavily
idea.
used at this time.
I noticed, I talked to quite a few people out there, and I think you can all be pleased and proud that there wasn't one bad comment. They were so thrilled, that there was something there now that, they could work with, bring the family, and I think it's going to be a well-used park. I really do. Phil, how does the park department feel about this? I mean, it's close to you, of course. Now, I realize all the park department people can go out at noon and have lunch in, the park. No, I'm just, kidding you, but...
Yes, we look at it as our own private park. Our country club.
Okay.
Just kidding about that, Joe.
It's all Joe Flinch.
You're welcome to use it.
It's very good. And how long is that fitness trail?
It's I'm going to refer to my map, 1.39 miles.
1.39 miles. And how long is the one in Foster Park?
It's
Roughly.
equivalent to that.
Is it?
Roughly.
It's a
Okay.
little bit longer,
Yeah.
but it's because Foster Park has a more space.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think it's wonderful.
About 1 mile too much for me.
Joe, you mean you haven't done the fitness trail yet, huh? How big is the pool? Is it regulation size?
Phil, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's 38 by 82, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't know the dimensions in feet, but you're probably right. But most people would be probably familiar with the term of 25 meters in length.
Okay.
Certainly anyone who's into competitive swimming is familiar with that. It's not what you would call an Olympic-sized pool. It's about half of that size.
Okay. It's a lovely pool.
It's an L-shaped. It'll work very nicely for swimming instruction. Has a sufficient area of shallow water. It has steps leading down. It'll work nicely for handicapped people. It's just really a neat facility.
Now, excuse me, but that little part, now the L part, the little part that goes off that has the rope across it, is that the wading pool?
That's the shallow part of the pool. Yeah.
I like the idea of having that there. That way, swimmers don't zip back and forth over little kids, when they're racing or doing races.
It's a nice design, and it gets away from having a separate wading pool per se, and then if a mother has 2 or 3 children, then she has to watch them in 2 or 3 different places. This way, they're all more together. The one feature about the pool I was going to mention, which makes it a little bit unique, is that it has stainless steel signs.
Oh, really?
And you don't see too many pools in our area with that. It's a relatively new design feature.
What was the reason to put stainless steel in instead of...
For maintenance reasons.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I see. Talk a bit. There have been some grumblings at Lawton Pool, and I don't know which one of you want to answer this. Was it necessary to close Lawton, or would there be a possibility of opening it? I know that the maintenance, you really needed a lot of maintenance, but isn't that a long way for them to come, over to Northside?
It's not really that far. Certainly anyone who lives closer to Lawton than they do Northside, it's obviously more inconvenient for them. No one really can deny that. However, the Northside pool is closer and more convenient for more people than the Lawton pool was. The Lawton pool basically, you see, Lawton Park lies in between Clinton and Lafayette streets, which is our 2 busiest streets in town.
Right.
And anyone in order to get to Lawton Park and Lawton Park pool had to cross one of those 2 streets. The other thing about Lawton was just its age. The Lawton pool was built in 1918.
It was the oldest one then, wasn't it?
Yes, it may have been the oldest pool still operating in the state of Indiana. I don't know.
Maybe in the United States.
We never really seriously researched that, but it was a very old facility, although it had been well maintained. But it was, just its design was completely out of date. We had a lot of difficulty maintaining water quality there and keeping the bacteria count down just because of the way the pool was designed.
The other point to be made about that is that, of course, when it was built in 1918, the physical characteristics and the land use in that area were much different than they are today. There were residential areas that were abutted that area very closely. Although there are still residential areas in that area, they're not as close, and that land use has changed. We have a scrap yard on one side, we have our park and the river on the south, and I&M on the north, and again a busy corridor on the east. And of course, our requirements for maintenance areas has grown, and our complex in Lawton Park, of course, has grown as the system has grown. So we were grown all around that and landlocked, and the pool was in the middle of our maintenance area.
It's funny, I've never been to that pool. Joe, did you used to swim in that pool?
Yes.
Did you?
Yes, I have.
Many people in Fort Wayne used to swim at Lawton Pool.
It's
that's
very
good.
nostalgic. In fact, I learned to swim there.
Did you really?
Yes.
Oh, well, mine was swinging, so away from both of you. I'll give you the phone number in case you have any questions. Oh, wait, just a minute, we have a phone call. Good evening, you're on the air.
Yes, Sharon, I have a question.
Sure.
Will there be flower beds in this park as we have in some of the other parks that the public can enjoy?
Gentlemen?
That will be minimal. I think there'll be a few flowers and some landscaping in the park, but there won't be a major floral display as there is, say, in Foster Park or Lakeside Rose Gardens, anything like that.
Any reason why?
High maintenance is one answer. We've obviously through the years have reduced our floral displays because of the intense maintenance required, and over the period of years our roles have reduced to meet the needs of the economy. Wherever possible, when we introduce new plant material into this park, we will attempt to make it flowering material, flowering crabs, weeping cherry, etc., so that we can introduce some color into the park. But again, to introduce annuals is very expensive.
Sir, does that answer your question?
Yes, that's very fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Did he have another question? I was just wondering, what about perennials? Why couldn't you put perennials in? That
Weeding involved in it takes a lot of labor. The tree specimens really are our answers, and shrubbery. And we'll attempt to do that wherever possible. We've started to do that up around the building down in the corner, which is the administration building.
Yes, flowering shrubs and flowering trees are certainly practical for us and will be introduced into the park. Some are there already. But flowers per se require so much individualized attention and man hours to take care of that it's just impractical for us to
That's
do
a
that
shame
in
because you
neighborhood
have
areas.
beautiful flower displays all over the city and the parks, and that's
Well, and of course, there's a benefit involved in that too, because we can centralize our efforts. For example, in Foster Park and at the Rose Gardens, they become more prominent and more popular, and they are very beautiful and well appreciated.
they are really. We have another phone call. Good evening, you're on the air.
Good evening.
Hi.
My name is Douglas Larry.
Yes, Douglas.
I was one of the predecessors of Joe Foley in the Neighborhood Association. And I just wanted to suggest that recognition be given to one of our elders in the association, Mr. K.D. Ross.
I think we were going to get to that, but I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm glad he's got
So
someone out
if
there
you're going to
thinking
get to it,
about
I'll let you go about it. But I wanted to make sure that he got recognition.
Thank you very much
Here,
for
here.
calling.
Yes, we have many people that deserve recognition.
Why don't you
Helen
name
Harrington,
some names?
Mildred Gospodard, Mary and Dick Gower, many, many more. Lou, I hope I don't pronounce your name well.
It's all right, you'll forget.
Who was very active, and she's very active right now in trying to establish a volleyball court there. And we, on the opening day, we hope to have a table not only for registration for new members for our association, but we also like to have donations. We're starting a drive for 2 volleyball courts. That correct, Bill? 2 volleyball courts.
Where are you going to put them at, Joe? Where will they be located?
They're on the schedule over there.
Oh, are they?
Yes. At least they were, and that was one you have written up in the building. But anyway, anyone like to donate coming to the opening of the park, please do so. And we need all the help we can get, and the park department needs all the help they can get.
And how much is it going to cost for the volleyball courts that the neighborhood will need?
$8,000 for an
$8,000.
asphalt volleyball court,
That's for each one, right?
for a volleyball court.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you need 16,000.
I should point out, but this gentleman that called in, Mr. Larry, was very instrumental also in this process of the design. He and his lovely wife played host to us many nights in their home during this process, and we're very appreciative
got
to
some good
And they're
people
still
in
very
Northside.
active in the association.
Yes,
yes.
Very, very, very active.
There was a gentleman with the state that helped out a great deal. And
Elmer McDonald
Right.
and Woodrow Wilson.
Right.
Elmer McDonald was the representative at that time, state representative, and Woodrow Wilson was the senator. Woodrow Wilson doesn't hold office at the present time, but Elmer McDonald is now a senator.
Right, state senator from this area.
And they helped you to...
They helped.
The transition...
Yeah, see, the property had to be transferred from the state because it was state-owned property.
Right.
And that required an act of the state legislature to do that in order for it to become city property and a city park. So we couldn't have done it without them.
That's very good. There are a lot of nice people, and that's one of the things probably no one ever knows what all the many people that help, throughout.
Of course, the danger in trying to identify everyone is that you might miss someone.
Yes,
But
right.
it's necessary to try.
That's true. That's true. What's the big old building? It's right by the mental health. Look, I'll look at this. The camera will just have to
Gymnasium.
look at me. Look. So.
Gymnasium,
Yeah, is that what that is? The gymnasium?
mental health. It's belongs to
Okay.
mental health.
Is it theirs or yours?
It's
Mental
theirs.
health.
It's
Yeah.
theirs.
Yes.
Oh, that's a nice building. I was
Yes, it
wondering.
is.
I asked the man if I could climb up on the roof today, and he said no, he didn't have a key. That's. What else are you going to put in the park over the years? Any thoughts, or have you? That's just about what you've got now. You're going to keep.
I think that we would look very cautiously at adding anything else to the park. It has just about every feature I think that you'd want in a
Yeah.
neighborhood park. Again, not to rule out that we might not consider something additional, but it would have to have a lot of merit.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Phil.
I was just going to reiterate a point that Jerry made and really wanted to point out the fact that it is a neighborhood park, and it is designed and intended to service the north side neighborhood and the people that live around that area, as are our other neighborhood parks, as opposed to a community park such as Chauffeur, Foster, or Frocky, which have different types of activities going on them and different types of facilities. And we try to be very conscious about that in park planning and park development, because depending upon the facilities in a park, that kind of dictates what kind of activities will go on in that park. And there are some types of activities that lend themselves more to community parks, and there are some other activities that lend themselves more to a neighborhood situation.
Bill Phillips, former president, asked me to make a statement on that today. One of the facts is that it is a walk-in park, and it is a neighborhood park. But it also belongs to the entire city, and the entire city is there for their disposal, there for their use.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I
it's a
can
city
see what-
park. It's not just for the north side
right.
neighborhood. So,
But you want us all there Saturday, though. I
But it
hope
is a
you do,
walk-in park,
so
yeah,
we
yeah.
can take a look at it. And the dedication starts at 10 in the morning?
well,
No,
12
12
o'clock.
noon.
12. Oh, good.
12 o'clock.
And the mayor will dedicate. Who are some of the guests you'll have?
Well, the mayor will be there, and other city officials, city council members, and park board representatives, and the park staff will be there, of course. I think Dr. Ackerman, the superintendent of the state hospital, Fort Wayne State Hospital and Training Center, will be there representing that interest, since it was a state hospital site. He'll be representing the state, I think.
well, I
Joe
hope
will
to,
be there,
yes.
and all the neighborhood representatives, and they'll
I
be
hope all the
participating in
people
the program.
previously that were instrumental in establishing the park will be there, and they will state just what they did to bring the park about with the park people
That's
and the
good.
city officials, right? So we'll give a chance to speak and tell us just how they work this thing in together, and it really intertwines, and very, very good story.
Yeah, it would be. I think you've done an absolutely fantastic job, all of you, because it's nice to see an effort where neighborhoods and government are working together to make something nice, not trying to,
thank
take
you.
something down. I noticed that the podium, your platform, will be close to State Street. Is that correct?
Just off of State Street there
Okay.
by the main office building, yes.
All right.
And the formal ceremony will take place at noon and probably last about a half an hour. And then at approximately 12:30, we'll move over to the swimming pool, and Mayor will cut the ribbon. And
He's going to go swimming too?
Well, I don't know. We've invited him to bring his swimming trunks, but I don't know if he's
Okay.
going to jump in or not. But
We'll have to ask him.
as Jerry mentioned earlier, the swimming pool is open free of charge to the public on Saturday, and we hope that everyone will bring their suit and join us in a swim. There'll be other things going on throughout the afternoon also in the park. Northside Jazz Band, the Wildsiders are going to be there playing. And we, I think, have the seeds planted for a very good relationship between the park and Northside High School. They will be using the tennis courts, as Jerry was talking about earlier, baseball diamond will become the home field for the Northside High School baseball team. Their band probably will practice in the park. And so the park will be heavily used by the high school, and by the same token, we think that the high school can help provide some activities in the park as well.
Are you going to put bleachers in by the baseball diamond
Yes,
and the football?
Yes, but they're not in yet, and they won't
Right.
be in by Saturday. And there is a media softball game that will occur
Is
that
there?
day. So if you're
Oh.
interested in participating as a spectator, would suggest you bring along a lawn chair. And once again, I would encourage people who are driving to the park on Saturday to enter into the park off of Parnell.
Off of Parnell.
Mhm.
Okay, and it starts at noon.
Sharon, here's a list of all the things that are happening here. In fact, the concession stand is by Bob McCoy and Music Boosters, Northside Music Boosters, and the time and schedule for all the activities going on in there.
Joe knows I like to eat and drink here, so that's he tells me about the concession stand. Thank you, Joe. Okay, and you have Northside Band. What's RSB? That's 3 to 4. What is that? It says RSB.
Yes, that's another group from Northside High School, another musical group. That's the one of their stage band groups. They'll be playing later in the afternoon. We also have a musical group from the state hospital that'll be coming over and
Oh,
playing.
that's great. What's jugglers' performance? Real jugglers?
Real
Yes,
jugglers.
that's there's a club in town of people that are interested in juggling,
Uh-huh.
and they'll be there and they'll be doing some performing. Jerry mentioned the media softball game with
Yeah.
a lot of the different media personalities.
Those are always fun to watch.
We're also going to have some celebrity tennis matches down on the tennis courts.
Oh,
and,
really? Who's
uh-huh.
going to play?
Well, I think Councilman Don Schmidt, who is the council representative from that district, will be playing, along with some of the sports personalities from a couple of the commercial television stations.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
There's
so-
one from one television station that's a super basketball player, and I think it's Wayne TV, so don't play basketball with him. He'll beat you for sure. What's picnic kits? What's that mean?
That just refers to some games and activities that are available through our picnic kit rental system. We'll have a couple of the kits out there. We'll have some volleyball areas set up and some other equipment available for general games and activities if people are interested in doing something.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Joe. Oh, and there are more on the back,
More
too?
on the back.
Oh,
my
yes, all
gosh.
kinds of things going on that day.
Okay, well, I think I went from the wrong side to the, that's the afternoon. Now, in the morning, they have, you have your flag ceremony and the dedication ceremonies, your balloon release, and
1,000 balloons.
1,000
That's right.
balloons. Okay, the pool opening, WME giveaways. I probably shouldn't have said that. Moonwalk. Oh, that is a nice, fun thing. And Joe, have you ever been on the moonwalk?
No, I never have.
Haven't you?
You get your big chance on Saturday.
That's
We
right.
did when our association had an ice cream social, and I'll tell you, you get your knees skinned up. That's you really do, but it's a lot of fun. And
Quietly.
Yes, the library will have people there with a storytelling
Oh, good.
program for the little kids, so that'll be of interest to them.
and your funmobile.
Yes, we'll have
That's
one of our funmobile units there, and we will, Northside Park will be a funmobile stop for us as a regular schedule this summer with regular organized games and activities and crafts throughout the summer, so
That's
people
good.
can be looking forward to that.
Jerry, did you get the fire department? Are they fire station house number 10? Are they coming down with their engine?
Yes, I think they'll
Are they?
be down. Uh-huh.
Oh, that's good. That kids always love to see the
Right,
fire.
they'll be on duty, but they'll be...
Right.
Yeah, right. Well, that's a good place for them, too. One of the things, when we mentioned the funmobile, now the funmobile, does it go to every neighborhood in the summer?
We have 4 funmobile units, Sharon, and each of them visit either 5 or 6 locations each week. So the funmobiles service a total of between 25 and 30 locations. And each location is visited by the funmobile either twice a week on Tuesday, Thursday, for example, or 3 times a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
I see.
And as I mentioned, one of the funmobiles will be stopping regularly at Northside Park.
Okay. I think I'll give the phone number again in case you have any questions of any of the gentlemen here, and it's 467-1275 about any of the park systems, parks, or any of the things that they do. Let's go into a little bit about some of the things that are going to go on this summer. Of course, we've got the Three Rivers Festival, and that's going to be a big thing. Have you got anything new planned this year from the park department? What do
Yeah,
we have? Bed race. We still have the bed race, right? And,
Right. The big new activity that we'll be having during the Three Rivers Festival is a 10,000 meter run, which kind of replaces the marathon since they moved the marathon out of the festival and had that early in May. Festival committee and ourselves felt that that was kind of leaving a void, and we should have some type of running event. So we are organizing a 10,000 meter run, which will have a heavy emphasis on a handicap division. With wheelchairs and other handicapped persons being able to participate.
Oh, that's great.
And that'll be on the second Sunday of the festival. I don't know, the exact date escapes me. It must be like July 17th or something
I think I have a
like
schedule here, and it's a beautiful schedule this year. And if I don't drop everything on the floor, yeah, stay there. This is the new Three Rivers Festival. And it's got a lot of nice things. I like the colors. It's bright and cheerful.
Right.
What's the theme this year? The future's looking good, right? Okay.
That's right.
That's a good one. You've got 18 pavilions now in the park, the different parks.
Mm-hmm. 18 pavilions that are available for rental.
Right. Okay, so anyone can, we'll just touch on a few things that you do have since the time is getting late. Roughly the cost goes from anywhere from $10 to $38, depending on the location, right? I think
On the pavilions?
Right.
Yeah, some of them are a little higher than that. The great big one out at Franke, for example, I think is $75. And that will hold
How
up
did
to
I
like,
miss that?
that will hold up to like 200 people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's used by very large groups,
Yeah.
obviously.
Right.
But some of the smaller ones, yes, the rental fee is, ranges.
It's nice to have, I think, really. Okay, you have the bike trail. How long is the bike trail? I've got a map, and I've seen the map. My goodness, that thing must be...
I'm going to really have to draw on my memory on this one. I'm going to say 7 miles of Class 3 bike trail, which is on street. An interesting point when we talk about bike trail is that along with one of the projects that we have underway right now is our River Greenway project, which Angie and I have been working on for a long time, along with lots of other folks. We hope to have, when we are completed with our first phases of the River Greenway, a bike path or a pathway, not strictly bike path, but a pathway that will begin at Roosevelt Park, which is on Main Street along the river, and take you all the way to Johnny Appleseed Park in about the safest way possible. In almost every case, we've been able to construct an underpass under the bridges so that you can travel from Main Street all the way, or you will be able to do this in the near future, all the way to the old fort, under Spy Run Bridge, in front of the filtration property, which we're real excited about that possibility. And the first point at which you would have to cross a bridge will be at the Tennessee Bridge, and we've got a flasher there. So there, we've got a very safe crossing there. Then you're back on this asphalt pathway, taking you all the way up to the State Street Bridge. You cross at the light, and from that point it's smooth sailing all the way out to Parnell. And again, we have a light. You cross it, and you're in Johnny Appleseed Park. We're talking about probably 4.5 miles of pathway for jogging. Hopefully, we'll be able to include a fit trail into this somewhere along the line. Bicycling, strolling, whatever. A very enjoyable route, and again, along the river.
I'm so glad that you have brought, again, the River Greenway program. And I think you really, should tell them that it was implemented, what was it, 1912? They wanted to do this.
Well, we have
down.
a document in our main office that does show some planning that had occurred back in the early part of the century that did include River Greenway, esplanades, drives along the river, convention center, and a conservatory. Many things that have come full circle now and are getting some activity finally after 70 years.
Yes. I think the interesting thing is if they would have gone ahead with it back in 1912, we would have had probably very little damage with the 82 flood, because there would have been nothing there but parkland, and very little would have been destroyed or disturbed.
Well, the city was located here primarily because of the rivers.
Right.
The Indians understood its importance, and of course, it grew from that point. What we're trying to do is to bring a focus back to the rivers, and it has secondary impacts in that it brings people to the river. Their awareness of the quality of the river is made, and the long-term benefits of that is that water quality improves because people insist upon it. There's lots of things that are related to it, to both quality of life and just plain enjoyment of the river.
How long does it take for the river to fill up? I noticed the river levels were down today.
Once they lower the rollers at the Hosey Dam there on Anthony, it only takes about a day or two for the river water level to come back up.
It's very low.
Surprisingly quick.
Yeah, and I understand that it won't be coming back up as quickly as people thought. They are putting tide gates or backwater gates on many of the pipes that protrude through the dikes. One of the problems, of course, if you recall from the flood that we had not very long ago, was that as the waters rose in the banks of the river, it was forced back through these pipes and came out manholes and came in people's basements. So what's happening now is the Board of Works is going around and plugging these pipes up so that when we do have high water, it won't create the same problem that happened not very long ago.
I think that's where a lot of people had a lot of the flood damage. And
Just from backing up through the system.
Sure.
Definitely.
What are some of the new things we have at the zoo? Do either of you know that? I mean, is anyone...
The newest thing we have at the zoo is the gift shop.
Oh,
And,
no animal?
well,
I'm looking for an animal.
The gift shop is full of little animals.
Well, I know. Real animals? No, you're not selling
No.
little animals, I hope.
Little souvenir animals.
Oh,
and
okay.
Everybody wants to take home a souvenir from the zoo.
Okay. All right, and you've got a lot of things planned. One of the interesting things I saw, and I've got to mention this because I wish I was a senior citizen. Joe, you really ought to go on this now, I'm telling you. Senior trip to the Pacific Northwest and to the Canadian Rockies. That is
That would
lovely.
be something else, wouldn't it?
That's lovely.
By train.
Right,
Right.
of course. I
By
think
train.
that's great. That's in, what did that say? I think that's probably in June, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I've got a brochure on it. Why don't we do this for the people that are not senior citizens, plan little trips like this, because I think that's a great idea.
We've thought about that. We have a very extensive trip program at the Senior Citizen Center, and this is just one example. This past spring we did a trip to Europe through the Senior Center. This fall, I think it is, we have a trip to the Finger Lakes region in upper state of New York and New England.
Oh, that's
And every month we have an out-of-town trip from the Senior Center, and also every month we have an in-town trip. But we have talked about the possibility of sponsoring trips for us normal folks.
Now, wait, you're going to get letters on this one.
People who are not 55 or over.
Yeah.
We did
okay.
sponsor a trip to the Olympics, and we may sponsor a trip to the Los Angeles Summer Olympics in '84.
Oh, that would be great. That would be great. We'd have to include everyone on that one.
Oh, yes.
That's a good idea. The plant conservatory is looking better every day. When will the completion date be?
They're projecting November.
November? Okay. What are we going to have in there now?
Well, as you enter into the building, you'll come through the main entry part of the building.
Right.
There will be a gift shop, an area that can be rented by the public, a meeting room, an audio-visual area, obviously a ticket-taking, money-taking area. And as you pass that point and then actually begin your entry into the conservatory, you'll walk down a corridor, and suddenly, with a very wonderful sense of arrival, enter into a tropical house. Or I'm sorry, I've got that mixed up. It's into a showcase house, which will have displays that will rotate on a regular basis throughout the year, from anywhere from 5 to 6 shows that will change and rotate. Lots of color, shows that will be identified with seasons, fall, spring, Christmas. Once you leave that area and have spent all the time that you need in there, you'll continue down another corridor and then enter into a tropical house to enjoy a completely different environment, and then finally arrive again through another corridor to an arid house, which is displays of succulents and cactus. Very exciting project.
When are we going to get a bird conservatory? Or a bird, whatever, aviary? What is that called?
Aviary.
Thank you. I couldn't think
We have
that.
a small one at the zoo.
Small one at the zoo.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that sounds nice. And you say that'll be November when that's...
Hopefully November.
Probably have a
Yes.
blizzard the day that it opens. Joe, you had something you wanted
Yes,
to
I
say.
was something on mine watching the map over here to right in front of me. We discussed this the other day, and the thing was that parking, there is ample parking for the park there now, even on opening day. And I hope people don't try to park on Kentucky or Charlotte, the east thoroughfare or the north thoroughfare, and park there, because there really isn't facilities or places to park. And I think that
We have enough spaces on our property to park 250 cars.
250?
And I think that we'll have a spot for just about everybody who wants
I'm
to drive
sure
to
the
the park.
people in the neighborhood would appreciate that.
Yeah. Will you have police officers out there to direct people, you know?
Right, it will be.
Okay, that's good. Anything else you'd like to say about? Going to be noon, Saturday, the dedication. The mayor will be there, the council people, neighborhood dignitaries, park dignitaries, and free swim.
Free swim.
And
While we're talking
right.
about swims, I get asked all the time about how much does it cost to swim? When you do charge, how much does it cost? You can get a child season pass. Phil can correct me if I'm not wrong, doing this at the main office, again at Northside Park, for $10 for the season, for 15 and under. 16 and over, the fee is $15 for the season, and a family pass is $25.
oh, that's not bad at
The
all.
whole
Very
season.
reasonable
Isn't it?
for the season.
Well, gentlemen, I'd like to thank you very much. I appreciate you being on here, and I'd love to come out and see the park. I will not swim, though, Joe, so you're not going to swim. I don't think any of us are going to swim. How many are you capable of holding in there? You will cut it off, I hope, before it overflows.
Yeah, pool does have a
Just about.
capacity, but I can't tell you exactly what it
Okay,
is.
well, we can see then.
It will be cold water, by the way. It's
Oh,
just been filled, so it'd be a brave soul.
Thank you. No, thank you. I won't do that. Next week, we're going to have the Station House #1. We'll show the solar energy project that the fire department put on together. And as always, we thank you for watching. Good evening. It looks really interesting. I loved it. I was out there today.
Thank you for joining us this evening here on Channel 10. Though our programs are completed for this day, we will continue to serve you throughout the night with community notes and music. We would like to take this opportunity to thank the many Channel 10 volunteers whose efforts from programming to camera work to audio to directing and so much more is greatly appreciated. They are the heart and soul of this channel. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions concerning station operation, please write to the Fort Wayne Telecommunications Center, 900 Webster Street, Fort Wayne, Indiana, 46802, or phone 424-7241. Remember, this is your public access channel, so feel free to keep in contact with us. So